Some say the Shawshank Redemption is steeped in Christian mystic allegories. They even connect Andy's scene on the rooftop, winning beer for 12 inmates, to Jesus distributing wine to his 12 disciples at the Last Supper. The director, however, responded that he didn't think that much about it when filming. He recalled the intense 3-month schedule left him breathless, and as a new director, he often felt lost, sometimes shooting dozens of takes for a single scene. For instance, Andy's first attempt to buy a rock hammer from Red took 9 hours. Morgan Freeman tirelessly caught and threw baseballs until his arm was injured. Eventually, the cast united in collective resistance against the director's seemingly pointless repetitive takes. To ease the tension, Darabont tried to keep daily shooting hours under 18, allowing for at least 6 hours of rest. If the actor's lack of cooperation could be dismissed as diva behavior, the disagreements with cinematographer Roger Deakins were harder to justify. Darabont wanted more beautiful scenic shots, but Deakins felt that minimizing external shots of the prison would intensify the sense of confinement. As a result, only 3 aerial shots made it into the final cut, each carrying deep significance. Today, we'll delve into this classic, where actors went on strike and the cinematographer caused trouble, exploring the ingenious designs hidden within it, drawing from both the screenplay and the original novel. So, without further ado, let's break down the film. The original screenplay used a linear narrative, but the finished film enhanced suspense by cross-editing 2 timelines. However, this compressed treatment overlooked some important details. Let's first reconstruct the original storyline. It's midnight in 1947 at a lakeside villa in Maine. Andy, the protagonist, faces a difficult choice: burst in on his cheating wife or go home and file for divorce. Although he's a vice president at a bank, he drives a modest Plymouth sedan, which seems unfitting for his status. It's like Jeff Bezos riding a vintage bicycle or Mark Zuckerberg driving a low-speed electric scooter. It feels out of place. In his wife's eyes, he's a penny-pinching stubborn mule. A clash of values and lack of communication led to the breakdown of their marriage. Linda met Glenn Quinton, a handsome, invincible, and sculpted professional athlete at the golf club. By day, he taught her how to get a hole-in-one. By night, he taught her something else. 8 months into their affair, Andy discovered the betrayal. He decided to get even. He took the .38 caliber revolver he had bought earlier for suicide and went to a bar to drown his sorrows. As he left, he didn't forget to tell the bartender he was going to catch his wife in the act, even boasting that he'd be the front-page headline tomorrow morning. Then, drunk driving, he floored the gas to a convenience store near the coach's house, where he bought a pack of cigarettes and whiskey. Before taking action, Andy planned to smoke a cigarette to calm his nerves, but then chain-smoked 12 of them. Before nearly giving himself lung cancer, he decided to get out of the car. However, the alcohol had gotten to him. He fumbled, spilling bullets and shattering the liquor bottle, leaving not only footprints but also his fingerprints on the glass. The novel describes Andy hearing the sounds of his wife and her lover's passionate cries, Linda praising the coach's excellent technique as the best experience of her life. Andy, this heartbroken little man, stood on the forest path, letting tears stream down his face. The loaded gun hung loosely in his hand. Fearing a last-minute failure, Andy, remembering that a true man can both advance and retreat, allowed reason to prevail. He decided to divorce his wife, throwing the pistol into the river on his way back. But after a night of heavy drinking, his name still made the front page. His wife and her lover were dead. All evidence pointed to Andy as the suspect. The Portland Superior Court took up the case because it had all the elements of a sensational and exciting trial, attracting intense public attention. People started lining up at the courthouse door as early as 4 a.m. To make matters worse, the prosecutor handling the case was running for Congress. To capitalize on the buzz and leave a lasting impression on the public, he had to convince everyone that the law in his hands was a just and ruthless sword. Under his manipulation, the trial turned into a prolonged courtroom show. He presented a mass of evidence that Andy couldn't refute. His trump card was the claim that Andy, After firing the 6-shot revolver, reloaded it and shot each victim again. He accused Andy of acting out of a cruel and cold-blooded desire for revenge. The script notes that several jurors shivered, clearly convinced by the prosecutor. These individuals were there merely for the free chicken dinner provided by the court. A scene in the script was deleted for political reasons. The jurors, munching on corn on the cob and fried chicken, shouted guilty at Andy before casting their sacred votes. All final hope rested on the judge. The script specifically marked that behind the judge stood Lady Justice, blindfolded. At this moment, Justice was truly blinded. Furthermore, Andy's excellent demeanor in court left no impression on the judge. Throughout the trial, he remained aloof, as if participating in someone else's case, facing murder charges calmly, without even raising his voice in protest. The judge therefore concluded, "This bastard is definitely a habitual offender, a cold-blooded killer." He then decided to give Andy a buy one get one free deal, sentencing him to 2 life sentences. Next, the film introduces its other protagonist and shifts to Red's narration. An iron gate creaks open, revealing an empty room, the Shawshank parole hearing chamber. From the moment he enters, the parole board officers watch his every move. Red is visibly tense, kneading his cap over and over in his hands.
We see by your file you've served 20 years of a life sentence.
Yes, sir.
You feel you've been rehabilitated?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. I mean, I learned my lesson. I can honestly say that I'm a changed man. I'm no longer a danger to society. That's God's honest truth.
His answer was unoriginal, no different from the inmates who came before him. For the committee, a conservative approach was preferred to avoid any possible commitment, so his application was rejected. Red appeared at 3 parole hearings, and his mood was vastly different each time. The first time he felt nervous. The second time, he fell into despair after learning of old Brooke's death. The third time, he experienced an awakening. In addition to changes in clothing color, the range of sunlight indoors gradually brightened with Red's changing state of mind. Furthermore, to symbolize the character's liberation, his shirt collar would open wider and wider. So after leaving the room, he immediately unbuttoned it, returning from a tense environment to a relatively familiar and safe place. For 20 years, he had grown accustomed to prison life. The lifestyle and relationships he built within the prison made him feel even safer and more relaxed than the outside world. Red appears in the fading daylight, unobtrusively bowing, weaving through the moving crowd, greeting inmates, completely different from his previous state. Here, he's an important figure. He can get you cigarettes and liquor, but he also has his own principles. Facing his talkative subordinate, Red utters harsh words, but his hand magically produces a pack for him. If you observe carefully, you'll notice Red completes transactions in the crowd unnoticed. His nickname in prison is the man who gets things done. He can obtain items inmates need through various channels, thus establishing authority and influence within the prison. He navigates the institutionalized system with ease. And then, the person who will change Red's life, or rather, change Shawshank Prison, is about to appear. In the distance, 2 short whistles from the main watchtower echo, and everyone's attention shifts to the main gate. A gray prison bus slowly drives into the frame, passing through layers of prison gates. The inmate's view is obstructed by the high walls of the prison. The camera then adopts an aerial perspective, not only showing the prison scale, but also symbolizing that Andy is about to enter this confined cage like a bird losing its freedom. The original novel's cover features a bird standing on the prison wall, and the director similarly links Andy to the image of a bird using symbolism. There are only 3 aerial shots in the entire film, and this symbolism is only fully realized when Andy escapes and drives an open-top sports car along the coast. We'll discuss the symbolic meaning of birds later. The prison has high walls, barbed wire, guard towers, and heavy iron gates. Then, over 100 inmates in the yard gather towards the main gate. While all the inmates swarm to the fence to taunt the newcomers, Red and his group, as prison veterans, climb to a vantage point on the outdoor seating area to one side of the gate entrance, the best spot to watch the new arrivals. The film then cuts to Andy. He's sitting at the back of the car, while other inmates look out the window, showing only their profiles. But strangely, on the other side of the screen, a fat man occupies almost as much of the frame as Andy. He's another important hidden character in the film. The director presents the process of imprisonment through the fat man's perspective, guiding the audience to deeply experience the prison world, using his panic-stricken state of mind to create a terrifying atmosphere of incarceration. Next, Warden Byron Hadley officially appears. He has a direct connection to the fat man and teaches Andy his first lesson in prison. Thus, the director repeatedly emphasizes this relationship between the characters. Whether getting off the bus or during the head count, they interact in the frame. The subsequent shift in perspective is achieved through foreground obstruction and the protagonist's quick wit, allowing Andy to observe the old inmates' actions as they shake the iron bars, trying to scare the new inmates. Andy appears somewhat intimidated amidst the jeers and shouts, while Red's group watches from a distance.
Taking bets today, Red?
Smoke's a coin. Better's choice.
Smokes. Put me down for 2.
All right, who's your horse?
That little sack of shit.
They use their cue positions as numbers. The first chosen was little guy number 8. The bettor's criterion was a scrawny physique, surely a fragile spirit. Red's subordinate, Haywood, was just the opposite. He chose the fat guy, number 5, who was already scared stiff, his features twisted in fear. From his perspective, the old prisoners were terrifying. Someone made a reeling in motion, as if the fish had bitten the hook and they were ready to cook it. From the moment he entered prison, various actions hinted at the fat man's ultimate fate. Finally, Red placed his bet. He looked at Andy, and their relationship began to form, a chained connection, moving with tiny, almost baby-like steps. Red concluded that this soft-skinned, pampered gentleman would be the first to break. The director also laid a foreshadowing in the scene with the two converse. When Red and Andy first meet, the background behind Red is a closed iron window, symbolizing the limitations of his inner self and his situation. As Andy's influence on Red gradually deepens, the background behind Red also progressively opens up, symbolizing the gradual liberation of his inner self. Furthermore, extensive use of frame composition further emphasizes the influence and changes between the two. Then the roll call bell clangs through the cell block. The old hands shuffle back to their bunks, and the real ordeal for the new fish is only just beginning. Because the movie runs long, I've split this breakdown into several episodes. This is part 1. If you're into it, hit follow and I'll drop the next chapter soon.